Red Pill Radio, this is Chiara Nicoletti from the 41st Torino Film Festival. I'm glad to be with Martin Scialli, who's here to present in competition Arturo a los 30, about 30. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking English. I know I was about to try in Spanish, but that's better.
Thank you.
So, a question, with about 20 then and now about 30, was it your way of, let's say, analyzing her inability, if we can say that, to keep up with society expectations on what and how we should be at a certain age, especially?
Well, yes, in the first film about 12, I sort of tried to. It was more like I realized I had made the same film in a way when I was making this one, because both were like character studies of a person not being able to cross a certain threshold of like maturity, or there was like a very big reluctance to do so. So and I like and I like the underdog, like not loser, because that's like a binary term, but I like the archetype of the someone who's really disappointing a lot of people, because I think people carry that with a lot of shame, and I like the idea of like taking that away, at least of myself.
I read that you started shooting in 2017 and you ended like in 2022.
Right,
So,
yes.
how did you play and also work with this passing of time during shooting? How did you use it also to amplify Arturo's experiences and emotions?
Well, originally it was all going to take place during a week.
Well,
That didn't pan out very well. But so yes, I sort of realized, okay, the children are growing. I am getting fat. I'm better. I better use this instead of like being like having huge continuity errors. Let's capitalize this. And yes, so we ended up having like really realistic flashbacks. Which was nice. Like, it looks like it was all thought out, but it wasn't.
I like that. There are many themes in this film, and there's Arturo's emotional paralysis in a way, and which is obviously linked also to his difficulty to processing loss and
Yes.
grieving, and but everyone seems to be experiencing sort of disorientation, which is typical. I think we can say that of the 30-year-old generation, the 30 something people. How did all this evolve in your film, and also when you wrote it and when you put it into
No,
the film?
the typical generational thing sort of was something that came out when the film started showing. I had no idea that everyone was at the same place that I was. I thought I did the film so I could like exercise
Yeah.
that shame. But yes, there's a lot of like uncertainty in my generation, I think, and I think there's a lot of yes, blaming yourself for like cards that were given to you, and I think that was really a relief when I got that from the audience, like people relating or not judging him too hardly. I thought that was nice.
Uh, of course, since you started in 2017, COVID and lockdown were
Right.
initially into the
Right.
the scheme, but could we also say that in a way uh, the situation that we all live helped you also to to as a metaphor for this emotional paralysis?
Well, yes, we were about to shoot the last chunk of the film when when the pandemic hit, and I was just up. I had it like in my hand, and it was taken away from me. So it was
Yeah.
like I was still very much inside of the film. I was really prepared to shoot it, and I had to wait for a year. And that year sort of every piece of information that came out was sort of like an inspiration. Uh, and that's when the idea of including COVID, because I thought it was very strange to like, there was a lot of like films or TV shows that were just ignoring the fact that COVID existed, and I found that very, very strange. Like this pretending this is not happening, and I thought, no, I have to include it somehow. And there was this very not famous, yes, like a famous case of a woman in Uruguay who went to a wedding with COVID and
Yeah.
she didn't give a shit and went like and sort of passed it on to everybody. And I thought that was a very funny thing to show. So there's a character who does that. And also I liked something about the strangeness of the first days of the pandemic, where things were very uncertain and people were trying to cope the best they could, and they were and I found, at least in myself, that I was a lot more forgiving with myself than I usually was. Like, and I liked that ending for the character. That a person who's really like um, with a lot of like status anxiety, or during the whole film, he's suddenly relieved of that and being able to feel forgiveness for himself. And be in this limbo or purgatory place, and I like that ending. So yeah.
You evoked also the wedding, and
Yeah.
that made me think also about the funny and entertaining elements of the film. And so I wanted to ask you, how did you balance comedy also with the darker aspects of Arturo, his grief, depression in a way?
Yeah. Well, I do think that in life those two things go together, and mostly it's just two different ways of looking at the same thing. And I liked the symptoms of his grief are funny, because it's paralysis and like being lost in life and being like very like a scoundrel in a way. And I liked, but I also felt this responsibility to show that those symptoms sort of come from a real like hurt place of him, and it comes from, and I couldn't like shy away from that, and I wanted to show the traumatic aspect of that in a real way, and make it, and it was a like a balancing act of like combining those two elements so that neither one seemed like off, but I don't know how we did, but we tried.
Well, last thing, was it always the first choice to also act in the film?
Yes, because yes. I don't. Originally, the film was going to be like little vignettes of like Arturo being like the secondary character and the main story revolving around someone else. So it was going to be more like like an interview type of situation of like I'm being the host, but the story is about somebody else. That changed with time, and Arturo's story sort of took on more depth. Also, there was this practical thing of I wouldn't it would be impossible for me to find someone with as much commitment through time as me and as cheap as me, so it was like a logistical thing.
And that's a perfect ending for this interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
Martin,
having me.
for talking about Arturo Los 30, about 30, screening at the 41st Torino Film Festival in competition.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
And this is Chiara Nicoletti for Fred, the Festival Insider.